Assalamu alaikum and welcome to a very special segment today here on Muslim Network TV. I'm Zahra Sayed, and today we have the distinct pleasure of speaking with Dr. Naledi Pandor, South Africa's Foreign Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. Dr. Pandor has been a pivotal figure in shaping South Africa's foreign policy and has played a significant role on the global stage. Dr. Pandor, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you very much, Zara, for this opportunity. And again, warm greetings to the viewers of Muslim Network TV.
Thank you. So turning to some more recent initiatives with the ICC and the Israel's war on Gaza, South Africa has been vocal about its position on the issue. Could you elaborate on South Africa's stance and recent diplomatic efforts aimed at supporting a peaceful resolution?
Well, we have always been supportive of the just struggle of the people of Palestine, having ourselves gone through a struggle against an oppressor. So we've got a long established relationship with the Palestinian people because when we were fighting apartheid, they assisted us wherever they could. So since the inception of democracy in South Africa, we've been making all efforts to provide support to the people of Palestine. In the context of the current onslaught against the people of Palestine, which began in Gaza and has continued in all the occupied territories, we felt that the level of harm that we are seeing, which is beyond all human imagination, really catastrophic, we felt this tragedy should not go unmarked and that we need to haul the apartheid state of Israel before the Global Court of Justice, the ICJ, and to do so on the basis of the Treaty on Genocide, on the crime and punishment of the crime of genocide. So we felt this was the most appropriate instrument to use to highlight the abuse and to prosecute our belief that Israel was intent on committing genocide against the people of Palestine.
Absolutely. And how does South Africa balance its diplomatic relations with Israel and with Palestine while advocating for human rights and a two-state solution? Are there any specific actions or initiatives that South Africa is currently pursuing in this context?
Well, we had been very concerned about Israel's treatment of the people of Palestine for many years. This is why in 2017 we removed our ambassador from Israel. And subsequent to that, in the face of the current attacks on Palestinian people, we decided to finally close the embassy, and we've done so.
That's great. Dr. Pandor, the recent escalation in the conflict has drawn significant international attention. What role does South Africa see itself playing in mediating or influencing international responses on the ongoing crisis?
Well, most important for us is to continue the case on genocide. We believe we must not stop with that important process. But second, we would like to see a ceasefire. Even in the context of a ceasefire, we think we must continue because war crimes have been committed. So I think the government of South Africa has very publicly indicated, following the most recent election in our country, that they will continue with the case at the ICJ, and that the government of South Africa will always remain in solidarity with the people of Palestine. Added to the judicial process, we continue to provide humanitarian aid within our means, and of course to offer all solidarity through our major political party, the African National Congress. So all these bonds of a well-established relationship of comradeship and solidarity have continued, and I think they strengthen from day to day.
It's beautiful to hear. I think we've touched on this slightly, but South Africa has historically supported Palestinian statehood. How does the current administration plan to advance this support? And what are some key challenges in achieving a lasting peace between Israel and Palestine?
Well, We would like to see the Palestinian people and Israelis around the table negotiating for freedom and self-determination for the people of Palestine. We do believe that these are two people who should live in peace with each other, and we have to find a way of doing that, and therefore negotiations are absolutely necessary. But our belief is that the people of Palestine must determine their own future, and nobody should impose quasi-leaders or leaders or organizations on the people. They must decide for themselves. So this is something that we regard as very, very important. So in addition to all the areas of support that we're providing, we're also providing assistance through inviting sports teams from Palestine, through supporting families that wish to take up refuge in South Africa, and also helping through our universities, young people who've lost time at university due to the bombardment of universities by apartheid Israel. We have allowed several students to come and complete their degrees or continue their degrees in South African institutions.
It's great to hear. And as an active voice in advocating for international justice and peace, what's your message to the Palestinian solidarity protests in the West? What are they doing well, and how could they leave a more larger impact?
I think the protests are wonderful, and they're an important encouragement for the people of Palestine. But I know that many people in Palestine are asking us in the world to look at isolation and sanctions, and to really look at how those elements that were utilized in the struggle against apartheid might be brought to bear in the struggle that the people of Palestine are waging. So we need to look at sports boycotts, cultural boycotts, creative artist boycotts, and a wide range of measures to isolate and sanction the apartheid state of Israel, so that the pinch of the pain of the Palestinian people is felt by all segments of Israeli society. This is the only way that you'll begin to get a reaction in Israel that is directed toward peace and justice.
It's very well said. Dr. Pandor, in your experience so far, do you think the Arab and Muslim governments could be doing more to help Palestinians? And what specifically would you like to see them do?
Well, there are some that are very active, and we certainly appreciate their contribution. The government of Qatar, Egypt, Iran has done a great deal, the UAE. We appreciate those efforts, but I think they need to be strengthened. And of course, I haven't mentioned Jordan, which has been always a very important support. But unfortunately, I think a lot of the countries don't give the solid level of support we had when we were struggling against apartheid from our neighborhood. Our neighbors were prepared that they would even lose citizens in order to ensure that South Africa could be free. And I think they made sure that they cut ties with the apartheid state. So there was no quibbling about the view with respect to the oppressor. It was very clear that they regarded the apartheid state as oppressing fellow African people, and that it was their responsibility to take up a position to ensure that the apartheid state knew how Africans felt.
And what's your message to the Brazilian and Indian decision makers who are key players in the BRICS?
Well, I hope that they would articulate very strongly for freedom for the people of Palestine. In the BRICS context, we adopted a historic resolution in the Johannesburg BRICS meeting in the summit of 2023. And we hope that the BRICS countries will continue to advocate support for the just cause for freedom and justice of the people of Palestine.
Absolutely. Dr. Pandor, there are reports from a journalist with good access to Democrats that Israel lobby is putting pressure on the United States politicians to censure South Africa. And the South African government has said it will be going ahead but there are concerns that with the Democratic Alliance within the government, the energy may be slightly less. So what can citizens do around the world? What practical help can countries that have governments that are supportive of Palestinians take to assist South Africa?
Well, firstly, I think we would ask our brothers and sisters and all progressive American citizens to speak to their public representatives, not to support such a call, because what it means is that we're saying countries are not sovereign nations. They can't have independent foreign policy. This is wrong. So I think that those who support freedom and justice must stand up and speak. Because by not being ready to stand up, by not holding our public representatives to account, we allow for abuse of democracy. And it would be wrong to try and use economic might to bully South Africa to pause its efforts at the International Court of Justice. And I must say my warm congratulations to the President of South Africa, President Ramaphosa, who has stated more than once that South Africa will continue its efforts at the International Court of Justice.
Dr. Pandor, looking ahead, what are South Africa's priorities for its involvement with the ICJ, and what outcomes would you like to see in the coming years to further advance the cause of international justice?
Well, firstly, we would like the court to give us a hearing date, because the big issues of the genocide allegation we've made have not yet been canvassed in the public domain. So we are keen to have the hearing on the issues, the merits on what we have alleged. And we are busy putting together clear submissions which support the case that we have brought to the International Court of Justice. Other countries are joining South Africa in the case and are also independently collecting a wide file of advice. So we must continue with those efforts. I think it's absolutely imperative. And we must ensure that this is a time when in history we do signal to leaders that the global community wants to bring an end to impunity in abusing innocent civilians who deserve rights that everybody believes are valuable.
It's very well said, Dr. Pandor. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights and for the important work that you're doing to advance the international justice and cooperation, particularly at this time. It's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful opportunity.
And for our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned with us for more updates and interviews right here on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum.